Welcome to video 15, point slope form of an equation. All right, our learning target is I can write the equation of a line given the slope and a point. All right, and I want you to draw a few things for me. All right, we have been writing equations like this in slope-intercept form. And if you could just highlight or point to the B, that's the start. We have been given the start. This is where it is on a graph. So if you could just draw me a little sketch with any slant of a line. But note that that's what the point we've been given, that 0 point. We've been using that a lot, all right? And a lot of times in scenarios, we're given the start, but a lot of times we're given just a piece of data, a point in the scenario. So I would like us to use a new formula. And this is going to be given on our formula sheet on the Keystone. And it looks like this. And this is the new information. We're still using a slope and we're still putting it next to x, right? But I'm given a point not at the start. So if you can draw me the same sketch, same sort of slanted line as the one you just did above, but give me a point somewhere else, because that's really what they're giving us. They're giving us some x and y point, and they put them at sub 1, sub 1 here to kind of designate that that is 1 point off of this line, and that's what where they would go in the equation, right? So technically, and I'm going to just color this one in as well, we are going to be filling in 3 parts or 3 slots of the equation. They'll be giving us the slope or the slant, or we'll have to figure it out. And then they're going to give us a point on the line. So make sure you have these labeled up and you can kind of see the difference of what we're using. And I'm going to give you 4 examples, right? So the first example, it says, well, let me tell you this. We're going to start with this form of 3 blanks, right? But I don't want that answer. It doesn't give me enough information. I always want my answer in the form that tells me what the start is. So we always want to change this over into y equals mx plus b, or y equals the slope and a starting point. All right? So here we go. If you could write on your paper y minus, draw a blank for yourself, equals a blank, parentheses, x minus blank. Close the parentheses. So you're just writing the point slope form with the blanks in it. And we're just going to fill in the blanks, which is kind of cool. All right, and it tells us that write the equational line with a rate of 4. And so we're going to put that 4 in the slope slot. It always goes in the middle next to the x, in front of the x. Now here's the tricky part. We have to put the point in. And I hope this helps you remember. So many people want to grab the 3 and put it right here, because that's the first number. But this is the y part of the equation. So I need the y part of the point. And so I need to put a 4 in this first slot. So I'm using actually the second part of the point, the y part of the point. And so then the x part of the point needs to go here. So this is the point slope form of this equation. You're telling me where the point's located and the slope of the line. But that doesn't tell me like where it starts. And so that's what I want to know. And so if you could just draw, all you have to do is do 2 steps, distribute and move. So it should be pretty easy. We're going to bring this down, right, y minus 4, because we don't do anything with that, equals. And now we're going to distribute. You're using your skills from solving. 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times a negative 3, remember to use the symbol in front of the number. So 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Is that in slope-intercept form? Not yet. I need to move the 4, the minusing 4, excuse me. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And a lot of us like to just cross that off. And because I'm using the opposite to get rid of that, because I really want a y equals equation. You guys have gotten so good at y equals equations. We use them for our calculator. This is a skill we really want to be good at. It tells us where the start is, so y equals. And now I can just bring down the 4x, and I'm going to use my calculator, negative 12 plus 4. No lie, I'm going to use my calculator and make sure that I get this right. Negative 12 plus 4, and it's a negative 8. I'm going to make sure that I get that right. Please take the time to make the calculator do that calculation for you. You are concentrating on the algebra. And so if you could, write, that's what you'll type in, the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. I just want to give you a quick visual. You did it algebraically. Some of these you can do logically, but you can see up ahead we have some fractions that won't be as easy. But logically, this is what you just did, okay? You knew that you had the point 3, 4 in the table. You knew that. If you go to a table, you know that. But you want the starting point. You want this point across from 0, right? That's what you want. So you could logically figure this out. If it was going up by 4, that had to be it from 0 to 4. That had to go up. So you have to work backwards if you're thinking about it logically. And negative 4 up 1 would be 0, and then back 4 more would be negative 8. So it's sort of working backwards. So you can kind of figure that out, what that starting point would be. But you did it algebraically. And so you just put in the point and you solved it for y so you could see that point easily there in the table. I wanted to show you that. Thank you so much for looking at that. We're going to do 2 problems, and you're going to see problems that have fractions in them. Do not be alarmed. I'm going to show you how to do it on your calculator. Well, you know, we're just going to practice putting them in our calculator. So let's put these in the correct spaces. We have a slope of negative 1/16. So draw your blanks. Y minus blank equals blank. Actually, just put the negative 1/16 in there. That's the slope. And then x minus blank. This is where we need to be careful. This looks like they gave us the start of the line, but it's not the start. The start is always at the 0 something. So this is the point 4, 0. So the x part of the point is the 4, and the y part of the point is 0. We need to put those in the correct places. And now we're going to distribute. I just drew my distributing lines underneath. So I'm going to recopy my equation. Y minus 0 equals, and negative 1/16 times x is just negative 1/16 x. And this is what I'm going to do in my calculator. And I need to remember that I'm doing negative 1/16 times a negative 4. So so let's do our alpha y equals negative 1/16, I'm going to arrow over, times negative 4. Remembering that taking away 4 is like negative 4. It's the same sort of value. It's like adding a negative 4. So I can multiply by that negative 4 there, and I get a positive 1/4. If you want to practice it on your calculator, please pause and do so now. All right, we want to make sure we practice that. And we're not intimidated by fractions, people. We're not. And so it's 1/4. And so my final equation, if I add a 0, now this is pretty silly. If I'm adding a 0, you could mentally have done that. There's nothing there if I'm going to add 0. All right, and so my final answer is y equals negative 1/16 plus 1/4. That's not always a 0, so I wanted to show that work because this is our notes. And what we'll type in, GMM, is the slope-intercept form, which is y equals negative 1/16 x plus 1/4. We're looking for an equation answer. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, and if you could, I'm going to just make sure that this goes out of the way here for a moment. Thank you. Not distracting us. All right, number 3. Thank you so much, everybody. So we're writing again, y, I see it, I need an equation line, and they're giving me a slope and a point, so I need 3 slots to put those 3 pieces of information in. All right, and so I need y minus blank equals the slope, which is 3/10, parentheses, x minus blank. And I even labeled this up. Maybe you need to label this up. It'll help you color code this. Remember, it's x and y. 5 is the x, so it goes here. Y is the 2, and that goes with the y part of the equation, 2. I'm going to distribute. And so I'm writing myself some little notes because I'm almost done with these examples. So I distribute 3/10 times x is 3/10 x. And I brought down my y minus 2. minus 2 equals 3/10 x. And then 3/10 times negative 5. I'm going to do that in my calculator, people. It helps to practice. I'm going to alpha y equals 3. I'm sorry, let's clear that out. Alpha y equals the number 1. I hit the number 3 accidentally. And so I'm doing 3 over 10. This is really helpful to do on my calculator times, and then negative 5, because it's the minus in 5, so that's negative 5 times negative 5 is negative 3/2. And so I'm going to have a negative 3/2 here. No, I'm not finished. It's not y equals yet. I have to add 2. And remember, I'm using plus 2 to get rid of that y by itself, right? All right, a lot of us like to draw a line through that once we've done the opposite to move it. And remember, I'm adding it to the other constant, or the like term on that side, if you want to say it that way. All right, and so I'm just going to bring the 3/10 x down, and I can do this in my calculator, people. Let me show you a little trick. Please, I hope you're listening. This is going to make your life easier. I have a negative 3/2 already in my calculator because I just calculated it. I just want to add a 2. So that was on the last line. I can just hit plus 2, and it will take the answer, my negative 3/2, from the previous line, and just add 2 to it. I don't have to retype the negative 3/2, people. I get the 1/2. So that's something you might want to practice, is that once you have an answer in and you want to just add 2 to it, or add something or subtract something, it's already stored in there, and just do plus 2 or whatever, right? And so that is plus 1/2. There's my answer. So I distributed and I moved that 2, right? And so my final answer is y equals 3/10 x plus 1/2. So we're going to get fraction answers, but we're just going to take our time on these and show our work. They're not always fractions. Sometimes they are, though. And this one's my favorite one. This is let's make sure we're paying attention. If it says the slope is undefined, people, I'm so happy because I know it's an up and down line. It doesn't have a y-intercept. It doesn't have anything. It's not a y equals. It is always an x equals. I don't have to show any work, any calculations. I just have to remember that it's just going to describe all the x's in the equation in the graph. And so I just need the x part of the point. And it is this simple, so we just have to remember this. And look, that describes it. All the x's are 0. That's an undefined line. And you guys have been good at starting to memorize this, but the x line is the undefined line. That's all I need for that. So that's point slope. We need it most of the time when I'm given 3 things, except when it's undefined. Thank you for writing all this down and using this when you do your work. Have a great day.